Episode 6 of Salo is already giving me anxiety. And that's before that it even airs. After that ending on the latest drop, I don't think most of you are ready for what's being set up. My theories have been landing all season, and I'm feeling good about where this is heading. We know Robert is about to take some drastic, unexpected steps, and Camille is quietly being positioned to blow the finale wide open. So consider this your fair warning. I'm about to walk through the major beats I think episode 6 delivers, and by the end, you'll have a clear picture of exactly where this season is standing. I want to lead with this one because I genuinely think it's the darkest place the season can go, and the writers have been building toward it since the premiere. Camille was never just a wife who happened to marry a judicial officer. She was chosen for her ability to lie convincingly, and she's been groomed by the system to value procedure over feeling every single time. My theory is that episode 6 finally forces her into a direct, no-escape choice between her husband and her position, and she doesn't choose Robert. I think one of two things happens. Either she reports him to the algorithm herself, or she's ordered to be the one who eliminates him, the exact same way she's watched every inconvenient person get quietly erased this season. Here's why I think the show commits to this instead of softening it. Silo has never once let loyalty protect anyone. Bernard tried to protect himself through power, and it cost him everything. Orla tried to protect the Salo through honesty, and it ended with her sealed in a tunnel. 5 episodes in, the show has methodically proven that this system consumes the people closest to it first. Not strangers, not outsiders, the people closest to it. So if Camille is capable of erasing an entire population's memory just to maintain order, the truly horrifying next step is showing she's capable of doing the same thing to the one person she's supposed to love most. Especially if the algorithm frames it not as destroying her marriage, but as protecting their son's future. That's not just dark. That might be the show's entire thesis, delivered through the most personal relationship it has. Sit with that for a second, because I think it's going to change how you watch every single scene between Robert and Camille in episode 6. The most important event of episode 6 is Juliette actually attempting to sabotage or disable something at the level 14 mechanism rather than just studying it. Think about the pacing here. The show just spent an entire episode handing her everything she needs, the exact location, Bernard's confirmation that disabling it is even possible, Lucas's knowledge of the world outside, and Martha's radio access to other silos. Shows like this don't spend a full hour assembling a toolkit and then let it sit untouched. I'm expecting episode 6 to put Juliette physically at that mechanism, and for something to go wrong, because this show has never once let a first attempt at anything succeed cleanly. The real question isn't whether she gets there. It's what she discovers about how deeply this thing is wired into the silo's survival, and whether disabling it comes with a cost nobody's calculated yet. Paul and Carla's investigation into the missing critical supplies finally produces a suspect, and it connects straight back to Judicial instead of staying a simple black market subplot. The show has been oddly specific about what's missing. Not luxury items, but light bulbs. Things that can't be manufactured again once they're gone. That level of detail tells me the writers want us thinking hard about who benefits from a silo running out of light. My instinct says this ties back to stockpiling for something bigger, possibly connected to the vitamin D plus operation, or to Judicial quietly preparing for a version of the silo that doesn't include everyone currently living in it. Orla died because she pulled on one thread. Episode 6 is where Paul finally pulls hard enough to see what's tied to the other end. The uneasy cooperation between Bernard, Robert, and the actual rebels, Lucas, Martha, Kennedy's people, starts showing real cracks instead of just simmering tension. This one feels inevitable. Episode 5 already told us this alliance has no real foundation beyond shared emergency. Bernard spent years defending the exact system that's now threatening everyone, and Robert built his entire career enforcing Judicial's authority. Trust like that doesn't get repaired just because the house is on fire, it gets postponed. I expect episode 6 to introduce a moment where someone in Juliette's growing coalition, probably Lucas or Kennedy, openly questions why they're taking orders from the two men most responsible for the world they're trying to survive. That friction has to surface before this alliance can function as an actual resistance. Martha's ability to monitor frequencies from other silos becomes an active plot point instead of just a capability we've been told she has. The show introduced this detail with real specificity, the exact frequency Bernard supplied, and Martha as the one person capable of listening. I think that's the writers opening a door to something happening in another silo entirely, possibly evidence that the safeguard has already been triggered somewhere else. That would transform Juliette's mission from theoretical prevention into something with a visible, terrifying precedent. Expect episode 6 to give us a fragment of transmission that raises more questions than it answers. To close out episode 6, I want you to look at the flashback timeline. Daniel and Helen make contact with Sam Ramsey's off-the-record insider, but the meeting happens under the shadow of knowing their own vehicle was just remotely hijacked in front of them. The show has escalated this threat methodically. First a vanished source, then a ransacked apartment, and now undeniable proof that someone can seize control of machinery they thought was safe. That progression only makes sense if the next episode confirms who's actually pulling the strings. And given how directly this parallels the algorithm's control over the silo centuries later, I expect episode 6 to draw that connection even more explicitly. Not through dialogue explaining it outright, but through imagery and technology, through the growing sense that Henry's network is the direct ancestor of everything Juliette is fighting against right now. Honestly, what makes this season so unbearable in the best possible way isn't the question of who's lying anymore. The best part of Silo has always been watching people who spent years believing loyalty and truth were the same thing slowly realize those two things were never on the same side to begin with. I think episode 6 is where Juliette puts her hands on the machine that could kill everyone she loves, where a marriage built on secrecy has to decide whether it survives the truth, where a congressman and a reporter are about to learn that being watched and being hunted were never actually different things. Robert learned that lesson first. Camille might be about to learn it last. And I don't think this show is going to let her learn it gently. That said, I think the overall pacing this season has been a little uneven. Some episodes fly by, which honestly is the rarer problem, but most drops have felt too slow. I'm loving the twists with Robert and Bernard, but there are still a lot of loose ends that need tying up before we head into season 4. And yes, season 4 has already been announced, with a script and filming locations reportedly in place, though I have real reservations about the overall narrative structure going forward. As for episode 5 specifically, I enjoyed Robert's arc and the setup overall, but I'm not thrilled with how the show is handling its source material. The books lay out some genuinely complex ideas with real clarity, and the show just isn't giving us that same depth of character work. Juliette is developing, I'll give it that, but the way her personal storyline is being handled is leaving a lot of loopholes. One last thing on the direction this show is heading. The first 2 seasons had one clear structure and a defined end goal, and that's exactly what hooked most of us. Season 3, though, is juggling so many threads at once that even I'm starting to feel a little overwhelmed. I don't think the season is bad. I just think this is the laziest the writing has felt, especially after the bar the first 2 seasons set. I'm hoping they tighten it up in the remaining episodes, because I really don't want to see this same problem carry over into the next season. Anyway, that's my full rundown of theories for the next episode. If you enjoyed this, subscribe for more, and I'll catch you in the next one.